they'll just act it out. So we thought it was a really cool opportunity, and she kind of really loves role play and live role play. So, I mean, also, I had told her when she first saw the school, hey, if you learn Danish, we'll send you. And she learned Danish, so then I couldn't say no, right? What else were we doing? So that was exhausting, but really cool. And we went to Festival over there, which is Denmark's like big role-playing game, board game convention. And it was unlike any, and I go to a lot of conventions, guys. Like, I really like conventions. This was so different and so awesome. Really, really laid back. If you go to the convention, you work at the convention, which is really cool. I thought that was a really neat thing to do. So we did that. I did Awesome Con this weekend. I did game days this weekend. So a lot of cons, just a couple of weeks, long trip. It was really, really cool. Okay, anyway, it looks like some people are here now, so I'll actually talk about what I'm supposed to be talking about tonight, instead of just telling you guys what I've been doing, which is Kickstarters. So I started working for Pencil First. I guess it's been 6 or 7 or 8 months ago now. You can tell I'm really good with dates. And the first thing I worked on was the Skulk Hollow Kickstarter. And that was, I mean, you talk about dropping someone into the fire. I've done marketing previously before. I used to do it for, I was in the art world, so I used to do it for artists and art events and things like that. But moving into board games and moving into Kickstarter was like its own beast. It's totally different. And it's really exciting because not only is doing Kickstarters different from marketing for other projects and even marketing board games for standard retail, each Kickstarter is different from every other Kickstarter. So every time I do a new one, there's a certain amount of, okay, I know that we should start advertising at a certain point, and I know that we should hit these particular points as we do it. But because each game is different, because each designer is different, each publisher is different, there's a lot of things that can be different from campaign to campaign, and it's something I like a lot about it, because it means each campaign has something new to learn. Starting out with a Kickstarter, the first thing I always tell people is know your audience. You want to go in with a game that's mostly done, and you want to have an idea of who you want to who do you intend to play your game. I think it's really a big deal when you're marketing a game anywhere, but in particular in Kickstarter, this is going to make a big difference to you, because that's who you need to market to fund your Kickstarter. And if you kind of go in blind with this, oh, well, I have a game, but you don't know if this game is intended for, you know, parents with children or people who like building roads, or whatever your theme happens to be, and whatever the mechanic, play style, and weight happen to be. All these things will kind of factor into who you're marketing that game to. And the biggest problem with not knowing the audience is you will spend lots and lots of money doing marketing that is completely ineffective. So once you know your audience, I'm going to actually try and pull up Second Facebook over here so I can look at messages while this is going on. Once you kind of know your audience, you can get an idea of where you're marketing, who you're marketing to, and that sort of thing. Let's see, my top tips for success, besides know your audience, have a plan. I think this is one thing that I see a lot when people come to me and they go, I have a plan, and I say, okay, so what's your plan? They're like, well, I don't have it written down. And I'm like, write your plan down. Because you have so many things you have to keep up with anyhow, and you have to keep in your head, that you're going to forget things. Things are going to, and it won't be your fault. It won't be intentional. There's just a lot of things going on. And it'll be easy for things to fall through the cracks, and then the time that should have happened will have passed. And so it'll either be too late for that to be even relevant anymore, or you'll just have entirely missed the boat on it. Yeah, so write your marketing plan down. Very, very important. How important do you feel it is to have a retailer option in Kickstarter? Actually, I don't. I'll tell you why. So I know a lot of retailers, just because I go shopping a lot. And the big thing with retail is, as Kickstarter windows get longer, as people move into doing Kickstarter, and then not having maybe even procured manufacturer takes longer to do than they think it's going to. A lot of retailers are shying away from Kickstarter because if you manage a business and you know this, you can't have your money tied up over the course of a year and roll over that year and then try and do your taxes. It's a nightmare. So having that Kickstarter, that retailer option, maybe for folks who have a game that's in production that they've already got going, or a simple production, like, you know, just a simple card game or something like that. Those can offer retailer options, and certainly you can always put in your Kickstarter, if you're a retailer, contact me, we can work something out. But an option per se, I think this is becoming less and less necessary because we're seeing these Kickstarters that aren't fulfilling now for 2-3 years, and very few retailers are going to jump in to purchase those because they just, I mean, they can't for tax reasons. So let's see, I'll go back up here to common mistakes. Ooh, not writing on a marketing plan, starting too late. When you know that you want to do a Kickstarter, you should start talking about your Kickstarter. You don't want to start spamming groups with that sort of thing. You don't want to sell, but you want to talk to people about your project. You need people to know about your project. And so as soon as you have this idea, oh, I think I'm going to take this to Kickstarter, then you need to be in design groups talking about your art, and you need to be in publisher groups and talk about what they've done, you know, what other people who take projects to Kickstarters, learn from them. The industry is so sweet and so nice to each other for the most part that people will tell you, and they'll be very honest, and sometimes it may seem a little brusque or whatever, but they will have your best interest at heart, and listen to them. Because I always say that you're going to make a mistake. It doesn't matter how prepared you are going to make a mistake, but you can at least skip out on the common ones if you just make sure that you ask the people who've done Kickstarters before, like what they did, and then you know to kind of avoid that pitfall. Did they expect to make too much, and so they set their crowdfunding too high? Did they not start advertising too early enough? Did they not target their audience enough, so they ended up spending thousands of dollars on Facebook ads, or whatever they did? Just ask questions. I think that's helpful in any stage of doing a board game, but for Kickstarters in particular, I think you'll learn a lot from the people who've already done it and already messed up doing it. So let's see. How do I feel about small Kickstarters that ship only to US and Canada? International shipping is a bear. International shipping, international distribution can be hard to arrange if you're not familiar. And we do see a lot of small indie producers who are just one woman or one man producing a game that they love, who don't have the knowledge already of distribution outside of the US and Canada. Or who in a way are a little leery or scared of it because either it's very expensive, or finding a distributor that will actually fulfill timely is difficult. Mostly, I would say anyone who's doing, like, you know, medium-sized run should definitely, this comes back to asking questions, right? If you don't know who a good distributor for the EU is, ask somebody, because I promise if you don't necessarily get who's the best distributor in the EU, you're going to hear who the worst distributor in the EU is. Like, someone's going to tell you, don't go with this company, don't go with this company, and you can start to narrow that sort of thing down. I think shipping yourself is a little bit of a nightmare, but if you're renewing a small scale, you can kind of do it. But I do think that people start to look at, is it easier for me to just ship to the US and to Canada because it's cheaper, because it's one flat rate? I don't have to look at every single little country and figure out what it is for there. I don't know, honestly. If I think about it, I don't know that I think that I think about that negatively or positively. I understand the reasons behind only shipping to this area. I think for me, the biggest thing is I want to see this industry grow outside of this area, and we know that Europe, for example, has a great board gaming community, but sometimes don't have access to the same games that we do here in the U.S. And certainly like the Asian market or South American, African markets are suffering from not having enough games. So I'd love to see more people spread out. But I think in ways that's almost roads that need to be blazed more by the bigger manufacturers, the bigger publishers, and then the smaller ones can kind of like learn by the way they're doing and figure out how to get into those markets themselves. So so that's how I feel about that. Let's see. Do I believe if it doesn't fund, hit initial goal on the first day, that you should pull the Kickstarter and try again later? Actually, no. I feel strongly about this one. Yes, if you fund in the first 2 days, congratulations. Woo, that's great for you. And it's kind of what everybody wants to see, because we do know there's this bell curve. And if you fund great early, then you're going to double, triple your funding in the last 2 days. And that's fantastic. I think we place a lot of emphasis on that in the industry right now, because there's a lot of Kickstarters and there's a lot of folks hoping to make money and hoping to get money from people who are backing Kickstarters. I think the trouble with that, though, is, and we see this with small projects in particular. I know Matt Hawker just funded composition in like the last 48 hours that he did it. I've seen a lot of projects recently that kind of go, Alice Davis just funded Dinos Not Included with Thing 12, and they funded in, I think, like the last 3 days. I think there's two reasons I feel strongly that you should keep the Kickstarter running. Number one, if you make over 50% in your first 2 days, there's a good chance that you will still fund. The bell curve is going to come back up for the last 2 days, so you're going to pick up more funding again. A lot of people probably mashed Inform Me later. So when they get that reminder, oh, it's 48 hours, you need to go back this, they'll come back and back it. You'll pick up people in the middle. It'll be a slog. You'll have to work for it. You can do it. I think the other reason why I don't love it is because Kickstarter is a learning process. And if you're not doing well, you've missed something. There's something about your product. There's something about the way you're advertising your product. There's something in your process that needs to be fixed. And pulling the plug early and saying, oh, well, I didn't do good. Too bad for me. I'll pull the plug and then we'll figure it out. You don't learn as much there. You've got an opportunity, if you're not funding well, to ask people who have smashed that maybe remind me later button, to ask people who did fund or who did go ahead and back it, why they backed it, and to ask people maybe in your Facebook groups, maybe in your board game Twitter, why they're not. You know, ask them, hey, can you take a look at my page? What do you see that you like? What do you see that you don't like? You know, you can make some minute changes during the campaign that may help. Maybe you haven't spent enough in advertising. I find that people who are doing it for the first time often come in with the idea that they can just kind of drop a board game on Kickstarter and it'll fund because it's a board game and the community wants board games. And yes, the community want board games, but the board game sector in Kickstarter has been the largest growing one for the past couple of years. And your board game is going to come out on a Tuesday and 17 other board games are going to come out on a Tuesday. So the days of just dropping something on Kickstarter and saying it's a board game and getting funded, they don't have it anymore. So I think hanging around for past your 48 hours, trying to figure out what you've been doing wrong. If you can correct it, great. If you can't, and then you do have to get to the end and it fails, you take the lessons that you learned from that and you try again. If that means you have to regroup and 6 months later come back, that's something. You know, if you need to put that project on a shelf for a while, if maybe it's the game itself, maybe there was something about it that people didn't find appealing, or they tried it on tabletop simulator and it was just kind of like meh. You know, take the lessons that you learned from a failed Kickstarter and apply them to the next Kickstarter. But pulling the plug early, I hesitate to use the word defeatist, but I feel like it is a little defeatist. Like, oh, well, I'm not going to win this anyway, so I guess I'll stop trying. I'll stop trying, you know. You may fund, you may inspire somebody else. So, and you'll definitely learn a lot. So I think keeping on with that is a big deal. So that's my thoughts on that. Let's see. I don't necessarily see anything new. Okay, wait. Oh, I have to keep scrolling down. Since I'm usually the one in the comments, like saying all the stuff and asking questions and being sassy, like it's unusual to have to sit here and scroll down and stuff. What should you budget for promotion on Kickstarter? Is there a ratio? I don't necessarily think there's a ratio. I do think that you absolutely need a marketing budget. That needs to be part of your marketing plan. And it can't be a last minute, oh, I have XYZ left from production and from all these other things that went into making my game. And so I'll just use this last $35 that I've got here. As you're working on your marketing plan, you need to decide, am I buying someone's Facebook group banner? Good idea. Am I running a contest through a board game group? Am I doing targeted Facebook ads? How many of those am I doing? When and who? You know, am I going to get a banner on someplace like Board Game Geek or buy an ad on Girls Game Shelf or Board Game Quest or another one of the blog sites that get a lot of viewers? You know, there's a lot of places that you can spend your marketing dollars. Making that plan and deciding where your money is going to go is part of the research that you do while you're putting that plan together. Knowing where your audience is. Does the bulk of your audience visit Board Game Geek? We know that certain games seem to see a better rate of return on ads. Miniatures games, larger scale war games, that sort of thing seem to do better with a return from their Board Game Geek ads than smaller games do, so that's probably not worth it. On the other hand, we see that contests for whatever, well, I was going to say for whatever reason, but the truth is contests do well because people like free stuff. So contests across the board almost always do well. I'm paying one of the larger Facebook groups or one of the board game kind of giveaway sites a little ollie on the side to help promote that is usually helpful. Those things not only help in getting backers, but building your audience, getting people to your Facebook, getting people to your newsletter, that sort of thing, and that's where your backers are going to come from. So, so no, I don't think there's a ratio because I've worked on larger games that did really, really well that had similar budgets to smaller games. I really do think that that budget needs to be informed by what your marketing plan is and who you think you're going for. But I definitely think it needs to be part of that plan, and you need to be prepared to spend a little money. I wouldn't take a product, any other type of product to market and not advertise it because people aren't going to come to you. You got to go to them. You got to show them what you've got. And you could do that for free and it would take you 3 or 4 years. You would have to visit, you know, game stores all over the place. You'd have to live stream on the internet all the time. You'd have to invest so much of your time into it that, so the expression is time is money, friend, and that's exactly what it is. You could spend 2 years of your life doing this, or you can pay somebody $100 and have them do the same thing. Pay that person $100. Always a better idea. What's the best way to promote? Hi, Amelie. Hey, I'm actually working on Amelie's game right now, which is really, really cute. I was going to say I thought I had it right here, but I do not, unfortunately. It's a dinosaur game about digging up bones. It's really cute. Anyway, best way to promote a first project. Be involved in the community. Get to know people in the community. Get to know people on Board Game Twitter. Get to know people in the Facebook groups. Get to know your local folks. Your local folks will be your champions. I have not worked on a Kickstarter yet that didn't have some core of local board gamers, just like cheerleaders in Facebook groups or on the ads themselves. That was the best part. I would see a Facebook ad pop up for a game I was promoting, and then someone that I knew was like local to the person who was doing the game would be on that ad like, yeah, this is the greatest game ever. And it was just, it was heartwarming, it was inspiring, but it's also telling, you know, because of this hobby, we get excited about these things. And the more that you know someone, the more they're going to be excited for you. So if you are active on, let's say like Board Game Spotlight or the Girls Game Shelf Network community or Board Game Broads, then these are the people who will be excited for you when your game comes out because they know you and they know your name and they've seen your game in production for the last 6 months. So when it finally comes out, they're like, oh, there's that project. And even if they can't necessarily be the ones that put their money into it, because we can't back every project we love as much as we would love to, they will share it. They will tell their friends about it. They will tell their friends who it's appropriate to. About it, especially, if it's geared towards a particular audience, if it's geared towards people with kids or people who are game schooling or something like that, they might go to their next board game meeting group and go, oh, hey, I remember that you love to like homeschool your kids and you love games. There's this game on Kickstarter, blah, 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 and that person has just become an advocate for your game purely because they're excited about the project because they know you and they want you to succeed. So I absolutely think that promoting your project, and it's big for the first project in particular because people are still getting to know you. By the time you've done your 5th or 6th, everybody's kind of like, oh yeah, okay, that guy, I love his games, or oh, she's fantastic. I played the last 2 things that she came out with and just, I can't stop playing the stuff she does. So I think getting involved in the community and getting other people excited about you and excited about your project is probably the best way to launch a brand new project. So Dino Dig, yes, I remembered the name for it, but I don't know, it has been a long 2 weeks. I've been to 3 cons. I just got home from Awesome Con, which was awesome, but very, very long, and also the red line was broken down, so it took too long to take the train. Anyway, Dino Dig, risky sites, really cute. Hey, Kathleen. How valuable do you believe email lists are for Kickstarter launch? Actually, mailing lists always have a better conversion rate than almost everything. That's just kind of a known quantity because if people will take the time to go ahead and give you the email, even if they do it through a contest or whatever, the email comes to their box. They don't have to catch it on Facebook. They don't have to see it in a Facebook group. They don't have to get an ad on Google or I've been getting on ads on YouTube lately. And it's both fantastic and fascinating at the same time, a little surreal for me to be watching, like, I don't know, Ladylike or something, and then all of a sudden a board game ad. I'm like, oh, you guys know me like way too well. But yeah, the newsletters have a pretty good conversion rate. So yes, I do think building a newsletter and email list is important. I think using it well is even more important. Don't spam your email list. Don't spam your email list. I'm talking into the mic right now. Don't take advantage of the folks who gave you their email by sending them too much email, because that's a quick way not only to get somebody off your email list, but anti your project or your products in general, because they will get mad, because you would too if every day in your email there was this message from the person who you signed up for to hear about one game, and now they're telling you about the Friends game and this other project they're doing and all this kind of stuff. Don't abuse the email list, but absolutely use the email list because it's good. Can I talk about my experience and background? Gosh, so my experience in Kickstarter has not actually been that long. It's been about 6 or 7 or 8 months. I was trying to figure out what my Pencil First Games anniversary is, and I can't really think. Whenever Skulk Hollow came out, about a month before that. So that was being thrown directly into the fire, and it's been fantastic. Previously, though, I've done marketing for nonprofit groups and for the art community for probably 10 or 11 or 12 years now, like a long time. So I do have a lot of experience, not only marketing products and projects, but marketing for them for people who don't have huge budgets to do that too, because there's not a single artist that needs someone to do marketing for them that has any money to pay them. So yeah, so I've been doing that for a while now, and I find it really, as far apart as you might kind of think the the highbrow world of art, which is not, is from board games, there are a lot of correlations, and I think it served me well so far. We'll see. Kathleen, got a game going on Kickstarter in August? Yes. Worried about the comments. The comments on your game? Um, I say, well, okay, so comments on your Kickstarter. There's going to be comments on your Kickstarter. You need to be dedicated to being active in the comments Kickstarter. You are unfortunately going to get a couple of people who, for whatever reason, will throw in $1 just to be that guy, right? It happens. But the comments section becomes, in a good Kickstarter, becomes its own community in a way, because it's filled with people who are excited about the project, who want to know more, who want to talk about what they're excited about, who want to talk about changes or new things that might be coming, or suggestions for stretch goals, or just like all sorts of crazy, insane things that'll go on in the comments. A good, thriving comment section will actually get you more backers. Because people see that other people are interested in it, and it plays into that board gamer FOMO where they want to be part of it. So they're sort of like, oh, well, people are talking about this and they're excited about it. Obviously, I should be part of it too. So, so yes, absolutely. Especially the first couple of days, the comments are going to start rolling. And then honestly, during your mid campaign slump, you'll get a lot of really interesting, insightful discussion, usually in a successful campaign. You will see a lot of stuff from people who are really, really thinking a lot about your game, like almost as much as you have about your game in a way. So I think it's important, yes, absolutely, to manage comments. If you're not comfortable reading through the comments because you think there might be some stuff in there, assign someone to do it. I've worked with people who had multiple designers or publishers on the project, and they would tag team the comments. Some because, you know, maybe so-and-so was going on holiday, or maybe so-and-so had to deal with like a troll, and then, you know, she was just like, I'm out, I don't want to do this anymore. Everybody else was like, that's cool, you don't have to, you know. So yeah, if you're not comfortable doing it, assign someone else, but definitely be on top of that comments thing, because also if you do get someone kind of you want to be on top of that too, and you want to nip that in the bud before it turns into its own crazy beach. But honestly, I don't feel like, and certainly nothing I've worked on has had a comment section that was like real bad. So I feel like it gets real bad when there's something wrong with the campaign. Otherwise, you know, like I said, you're going to get the occasional, but otherwise, you know, whatever. And most of us, and I know Kathleen, I know you know this too, unfortunately, most of us that are women in this industry have already dealt with a lot of the same comments. So you can kind of just roll eyes and be like, oh yeah, original guy, whatever, and just move on. So yeah, comments. Yeah, I see you guys. I mean, and I feel it because we get everything. So the first thing I do every morning is clean out my inbox, and there's always something strange in there. And we've made jokes before that if you could make, Bibo and I were talking about this one time, if you could make a filter that went through a woman's like email or Twitter inbox and filtered out certain words and certain shapes, you would make like $1 squillion, because every woman that works and has to do anything on social media would buy it. So if a company running the campaign is running the campaign, I'm not sure how much I should be involved with that. You probably should still a little bit anyway. People love to feel like they've got access to somebody. I mean, this is why people like Jimmy Stegmeyer have a hard time going to cons and not having people like mobbed around them all the time and stuff. Like, if you're the designer and you pop in to say something, that's going to mean something to somebody. So the company, but that's actually perfect for you, because then the company gets to handle the trash, and you just get to pop in and be like, it is I, the designer, and I will answer your questions now. And people go, whoa, it's the designer, that's amazing. So yeah, actually in that position, you're in a great place to just drop into the comments and sprinkle your fairy dust, and then go do fairy magic things someplace else. Then go to DC and have fabulous tea with certain people. I'm just saying, Kathleen, come on. Let's see. How do I suggest you handle that guy? Acknowledge, ignore. Depends on the comment. Most of the time, the comment's not going to have any substance to it. Like, there won't be even a question or whatever. They're just going to say something. Ignore them. Like, they want to get a rise out of you. Just don't. I mean, And I find if you have people who have backed your Kickstarter, sometimes those people will say something to them because they're enthusiastic of the project and by association enthusiastic about you. And so some people will kind of police it anyway. So if they have something very specific that you need to address, something very specific about the game, address that specific thing and nothing else. Just once again, just the trash, leave that trash in the trash. Do what you got to do, move on. And like I said, if it's just trash comments, someone else will take care of it, or like he won't get his jollies and he'll move on because you didn't engage. So let's see. I had some online. Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, once again, it's a shame. I feel like it's less year by year, but there's always going to be one or two, you know. Do I think it's fair that we have to deal with this? No. I mean, absolutely not. And I would never say, oh, well, it comes with the territory. It sucks that it comes with the territory. But the more of us that are out here doing this, the fewer of them can even respond to it. And eventually these little trolls will get back under their bridge and that's where they'll stay. So good cons for developers. Anything that's got a designer alley, a prototype alley, anything like that, anything that has good meet and greets for you to get to know people in the industry. As much as I like some of the larger cons, Origins in particular, look specifically for events to meet other people in the industry and to get to talk about games. And, and so you're not going to be at the con that much as you're going to be trying to find other people to network with and to talk to about games. And you can find them at the larger cons. Sometimes it's easier at the smaller cons because they're focused. Unpub is one I go to every single year because it is purely focused on games and prototyping games and testing out games and play testing and design and everything else, and that's all everybody talks about all weekend long, and you come away just filled with ideas and it's an amazing experience. So I would definitely look at cons that focus particularly on what it is you want, or at least events at those cons that do. Wandering around the convention floor, you may run into a couple of people and that's great. And I mean, that's totally a reason to go to a con. I do it all the time. I'm not saying not, but if you're looking for something specific, make sure it's there before you buy into the con. Let's see. I love that you guys are like sharing your newsletters and your projects that are upcoming. I love that. Kiki and I at Girls Game Shelf are, always trying to promote more and more women who are in this industry. And so I'm going to be copying like all of this because we're starting to try and do like a regular news of the month sort of thing and specifically highlight like the women's games who are coming out in the next month and that sort of thing. So definitely throw it up here if you've got a project upcoming, or if you even got something that's coming in the future, throw it in here anyway because I kind of want to take a look, partially because I'm nosy, but partially, because it's important. Let's see. Oh, that's mostly what you guys are talking about here. Neat. Dragnarok. Oh my god. Okay, I'm excited about that. I love the name. Let's see. Well, I don't see any actually newer questions with me. Oh, so much fancy tea with you. Girl, I know when you come in July, that and empanadas. We're just gonna like empanada. Speaking of which, like open invitation to all the broads. If you're in DC, message me. We will go into town and we will eat all the food and we will go to my favorite friendly local game store in the entire world and we would just have a party time. And yeah, anytime, I'm totally down. How important do you feel reviews of your game in a Kickstarter campaign, and who are the best to ask? I think previews of the game, and that's important that we make a distinction here. A preview is something that talks about your game. It talks about the mechanics of your game, the theme, the gameplay, and maybe gives a very brief, very small View of the person who's talking about its maybe opinion or the things that they experienced during gameplay. A review is kind of a totally different beast. If your game is brand new, you probably shouldn't have any reviews yet. If you are soliciting reviews, I mean, good on you. And I mean, add them to your campaign. I think the problem that we see right now is people get a lot, like a lot. I mean, I've seen campaigns recently where people have 12 different videos that they've either paid someone to do or just asked. And eventually people kind of get tired of watching the videos about your game and just want you to talk about your game. I think they are important. I think they're important for a couple of different reasons. You don't have time to create all the content that goes around your Kickstarter. And so having someone else create a how-to video for you, having someone else create a preview for you, things of this nature are very important. And the other reason that they're important, besides they're taking a little bit of they're giving a little bit of time back to you that you can put into something else. The other reason that they're important is because content creators have a fan base, and a lot of that fan base may not be familiar with you, but they're familiar with the content creator. I mean, even some of the larger games that I've worked on, I could tell when someone big dropped a video because number of views, number of people talking about it, number of people who smash the, remind me later button, like would just increase quite a bit because of that. So yes, I think they're important. I think this is a balance thing too, though. You want to have some, but you won't have too many. You want to stretch across all different media types. Not everybody watches videos. I personally don't watch a ton of videos. I watch Kiki's videos. I watch one or two other people's videos. That's about it. I read most of my content because I'm usually busy, so I have to do it in a snippet anyhow. So make sure that you cover blogs. Make sure you got 2 or 3 writers who are writing something on your game. Make sure you've got a couple podcasters that are talking about your game. I live in a town where everything is podcast because everyone has commute. So don't miss any type of media. Don't focus too much on one over the other. Try and hit all of them, but just don't get too many, and don't depend. This is important. This is really important, actually, because I had a campaign that did not so well, and it was partially because there was a certain amount of reliance on previewers and the content creators that were creating content, because that's what content creators do. While you will have access to their fan base, because of the nature of the things, do not depend on them to advertise your game. That's your job. Their job is to create content for you and for you to use their content. And if you happen to get some of their fan base to come follow you because of it, that's fantastic. But they are not making commercials and ads for you, and you should not depend on created content for that purpose. You can use it in ads. You can obviously use it on your Kickstarter. You can share it out later on your social media to get a boost or whatever, but never depend on that as your sole form of advertisement, because it's just not going to work out for you. Feel free not to answer, but how much does a board game marketing person run typically? A range. I know how much I charge. I don't know. I do have some ad sheets from other folks. I know a good Instagrammer, and never overlook. I just did it. Don't overlook Instagram. Instagram has an enormous board game community that is not on Twitter, that is not on Facebook, but those people are rabid for games, and they will go crazy if a big enough Instagram folk drops your game on their feed. It's just like, it's like little baby sharks going after your game. So don't neglect Instagram. The Instagrammers I can think about who will either take and do some shots for you and post, or who will do a story from your own feed for a couple of days, run anywhere from about 100 to 250. Is it worth it? In most cases, yes, because these are people with 10K followers, so the turnover is pretty good. Videos seem to run, you can get a cheap video for You can get a couple of people who do videos for free, all the way up to $600, $700, $800 per video. Some people charge by the minute. Written previews are about $100. That's not a complete industry standard, but that seems to be the one that I see the most, is like written 100, written 100, 75 sometimes. And once again, in all these categories, you can always find someone who will do it for free. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that inherently. I do think that everyone who works in this industry deserves compensation in whatever form that they would like, if it's a copy of your game. I know a lot of people work for a good copy of the game after Kickstarter, and I think that's fantastic if that's what they want. But everybody is entitled to, compensation for their work. So I'm trying to think, who didn't I cover? Podcasts are kind of an interesting beast in that, because I don't know that I know of any podcasts offhand that charge to put the game on there, but they'll usually just kind of more do you a shout out than they will actually do like a big overview of your game, unless they specifically have you on to talk about your game. But even then, they seem to just, hey, we've got content, we're talking to this person. Maybe what they want you to talk about isn't specifically about the game, but is about like how you came up with the theme for this, for their last couple of things, or whatever it is. But the best thing to do is just ask them. Almost everybody who does charge something either has it on their website already, or has an ad sheet that they will send you. And every single one of us has gotten turned down because we were too expensive before. So, that is what it is. If you hire someone to do it overall, they may charge you in bits and spots. I have one plan that goes for everything, and then I have individual plans for just writing a marketing plan and doing pre-launch work for people and actually managing the Kickstarter. And then I will also kind of pick and choose and tailor things depending on what people specifically, somebody I'm working with next week, wink wink, Amelie, actually had a lot of the stuff herself, and so there were only one or two things that she really even needed. And so we were kind of able to cherry pick the things that I could come in and help with, and then she already had like a really great grasp on the rest, and didn't need me. So ask your marketing partner, do you do flat rate? Do you do individual things? What kind of services do you offer? And then think about, okay, what do I need? So, they should tell you, because this is their job. And if they're not marketing themselves, you have to start thinking, well, hold on a second. Let's see. These and cute written media previews. I can't stress, written sometimes feels like the underdog, and I don't just say that because I do a lot of blog posts. There are a lot of different reasons that I don't do video. One of them is because I have visual issues. Straight up, I'll tell you guys. So watching videos sometimes is just difficult for me. So it's way easier to just read it, or to take a few minutes, read half of something, catch it on the train while I'm going to town, whatever. So I think written previews are huge for a lot of people for a lot of different reasons. My oldest is partially deaf. And so we had one of those things that would read the stories out, and you can't do it from a video, can you? So yeah, I think written previews are a big deal for a lot of different reasons. Let's see. Oxygen is overrated. That sounds fantastic. Beth, I do too. I would pay every single person that I work with like every bit that I could. So let's see. Pay creators what they're worth. Well, I think, and this is probably coming from art, I know that no creative actually gets paid what they're worth, because there's so much time and effort that goes into every single thing. But we have to, you have to start thinking about, like, while time is money, how much of this time am I enjoying what I'm doing? I know when I used to paint for a living, there was a little bit of this, yes, I'm selling this painting for less than what, maybe ought to, because of the hours I put into it, but I did enjoy half of them. So, and I did make a little money of it, so I couldn't complain too much. Let's see. Well, don't see anything else just now. Kathleen, I'm really looking the different dexterity actions. Sounds fantastic. I'm trying to think. So I have a couple of Kickstarter things that I'm working on the next month that I'm definitely looking forward to. Because like I said, for me in particular, each Kickstarter project, while there are similarities and there are similar ways that you set up your marketing, everybody needs a marketing plan. Everybody needs, to work on their pre-launch, but they're contacting creatives to get things like previews and that, as well as working on their advertising, their strategy. It's still a little different for everybody's game. Maybe the designer is new to things, and so you're walking through it the very first time. Or maybe it's somebody who's totally old hat who's teaching you, how all this stuff works, which is amazing. And I think the other one thing that I always throw out there is you're going to make a mistake. It's going to be huge, and you're not going to have to plan for it. It's going to be totally unforeseen. Something's going to happen. Someone's going to bomb out a question that you don't have an answer for, or suddenly you're going to find out that the manufacturer you'd contact and had in line for ages just fell through. They're just, maybe you get ghosted by your artist. I had somebody do that, like 95% of the art was gone, and then artist was just gone. Never knew it happened. You can't prepare for those things. Just be prepared for that contingency, because if you're a little bit zen about it, if you think, okay, this is going to happen and I need to just be chill and have planned a little time and a little extra money for this, you'll be all right. You'll be all right. The community doesn't want you to fail. The community loves games, and it loves people who produce games. And so unless you're a terrible person, you are going to find that there are people both in this industry and people who game, who are going to be there for you in ways you never expected. And it's something that is beautiful about this lovely, lovely group of people that I get to work with. So, go into it excited, go into it a little nervous, but people got your back. You'll be all right. Is world building story good for blogging? Yes, yes, yes. Just like when I was talking about earlier about people want to get to know you and they want to feel like they're invested in that way in your game. Knowing the theme, knowing why you chose the theme and the depth of that theme, or throwing out things like designer diaries, like just a regular update of, oh, I worked on this today and we found out this, or we tried this art, or what do you think of this? Folks love that. Because you would, right? If you were really interested in a product and you just kept getting these little snippets of information, why do we click on clickbait? Because we want to know. Everybody wants to be a little in the know. And when you throw out these interesting little tidbits about a world that they're already interested in some way anyway, oh, it's fantastic. Yeah, people respond. People get more excited. People get more, I don't want to use the word possessive. I want to find a better word for that. But in a way, they are making it theirs a little bit. And that's how you build what I was saying earlier with those champion type fans, the ones that will help you answer questions in your Facebook group. Someone new will come in and say, when does this launch? And you'll go to answer, and there'll already be 3 people who already answered because they already knew, because they're that excited about your game. So if you can give them a little taste, if you can give them, if you're comfortable sharing all these things about your theme and the ideas and what brought you to it and how deep the world is or the story is, or a little snip. I'm working on a game that's scenario-based. It's a campaign game. I cannot wait for you guys to see this because I am just already excited about it myself. And they've been dropping little hints about the scenarios, and it's like fire because it's almost like a preview trailer for a movie you're already interested in seeing anyway. You're already into it, but then you saw a little bit about it and you're like, ooh, so yes. So the answer is yes, absolutely. Wrap up in a couple minutes. Last questions. Yeah, hit me. Don't hit me. Don't hit me. I know I keep sniffing it. I'm sorry. And I'd love to say it was con crud because, you know, 3 cons in 2 weeks, that would happen, but that's not what happened. I came home from Awesome Con. I was exhausted. My go-to comfort food is Thai, and I ordered it a little too spicy tonight. So I'm still kind of, everything's real clear, and that's good. I will upload pictures from the con probably on my Twitter and throw a few in here as well. I love cons. We actually met someone on the train who was headed to the con, and since we all got diverted to a bus, we were all friends by the time we actually got to the convention center. They're amazing. Let's see. Thank you all so much. This has been so much fun. This is just kind of a great, like, chill out, hang out, you know. And I was honestly, like I said, I've never done an AMA before, just live stream. So I was kind of wondering if the whole, like, trying to keep up with the chat and talk at the same time was going to be weird, and if I was going to think that I was crazy because I was talking to myself. But it just feels like it's been this really cool conversation the whole time, and I'm totally into it. All right, so I'm going to give it like 2 minutes because it is 7:58 on my end. And if there aren't any more questions, then I'm going to shut it down. So let's see, while we're waiting, what else should I throw out there? Kickstarter. I'm going to go back to the earlier big suggestion. Ask questions, you know, get in Facebook groups. Ask other people who've done this. There are plenty of designer groups. There are plenty of publisher groups. There are a lot of people who love sharing their knowledge. Take it all in. Learn it all. Find out what somebody else is. Go in and ask what everybody's most horrible mistake was, because they want to talk about it, I promise. So find out what it was, and then don't do that. Or figure out if maybe it was bad for them, but it wouldn't be bad for you. So I think that's huge as well, because what works for one person may not work for somebody else. So I think that's a big deal. So definitely keep asking questions. Keep learning things. I learn things every time I do a Kickstarter. It's amazing. It's probably why I love this work so much, because I'm always learning something. I think if the week ever comes where I don't feel like I'm learning something new, that's when I'll start to think, okay, you know, is this becoming a job, or is this just like part of a hobby I love already? So that's where I still am right now, because I'm still always learning, always meeting amazing people, and always getting to play pretty fantastic games. So it is 8 o'clock. I had a fantastic time, you all. This was great. I'm going to go back through the comments and see what everybody's projects are and start putting them on my calendar, because I'm super excited about it. You guys know you can find me on Twitter all the time, girlsplay_games. I'm here on Board Game Broads, like chatting with everyone as much as I can, which is a lot because I really like to chat. Check us out on Girls Game Shelf, and I'll see you all soon. Thank you. Bye.